Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review for Anime Week here on the channel. I've had to flip-flop some placements of originally what I was going to do for certain days on the channel when I got the SH Figuarts Luffy, and this was actually meant to be for day 4. So now on day 5, we're taking a look at the previously released Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Denji from Chainsaw Man. The thing about this figure is that I got this maybe only like a month or two after its initial release, but it was long enough to where I was like, you know, I'm just going to wait until Anime Week and take a look at this then. This figure I've heard mixed things about. I've only taken it out of the box really quickly just to make a quick photo for the Makima review when I did that, I think a month and a half ago as of recording this. There is some controversy with this particular figure. Essentially, there is a lot of reused parts from the first Chainsaw Man figure in the line to where a lot of people thinks that this should have just been like an accessory pack, or this stuff should have been packed in with that original Chainsaw Man. And while I don't disagree with that, there is still a lot of stuff here to kind of warrant buying another one. Maybe they should have done the version from like the very first episode where he ended up being shirtless in his shorts, and then that way like the neck piece on this one and like the arms would have been compatible and swappable with the previous one. I don't know. All I know is that we have this particular look for Denji, and this is his signature look throughout Chainsaw Man, or at least the first saga, I should say, of Chainsaw Man. So here is the thing. I've been yapping for a while. I've already taken this out of the box. I'm just showing you guys quick images all throughout the packaging that you guys have been seeing. Really nice design work overall with really nice photography of the actual figure on the box. Really nice designs of the colors and different lettering. SH Figuarts, Bandai Tamashii Nations all throughout. Different images on the back too, as well as barcode in case you need it. But I had this imported so I don't have the bluefin sticker to translate anything. Here is a quick 360 of the figure out of the packaging. And yeah, it's a pretty decent figure. And I know that last year's Chainsaw Man was my #1 figure, and I'm saying it like this where I'm like, it sounds like I'm a little disappointed. I'm definitely not. It's just that, yeah, maybe they should have made this a lot more different compared to that previous one to where this felt a little bit more special. But it comes with a lot of cool stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at those accessories, then we'll take a close look at the figure. First thing I want to take a look at are the face plates. And also, you'll notice that both of these, the faces just seem really glossy. Skin tones on a lot of stuff from the Vietnam factories. This is where it comes from. Yeah, they seem really glossy, but like the arms and hands are in more of a matte finish, so it's a little inconsistent. But just keep that in mind. I'll show off a comparison with the hands with a faceplate later. This here is just a normal smile. We have that more angrier smile that you saw. Pretty nice printing throughout all of these faces. Nice pupils, the way they did the eyebrows. Actually, the teeth too. It's a little hard to see, but you can kind of see the jagged teeth in there. The paint is also really clean. The ears also look really nice. And we have that nice slightly pointed nose too. Next face to talk about is this cool expression where he's looking down with the tongue sticking out. Very signature pose for him. The pupil in the eyes, all of that again looking really good. And the detailing around the eyebrows is also really nice. We all know what this face is basically supposed to be. It's when he sees power, and you know you would use these faces to cover his face, but these can also be like him talking, being annoyed, or yeah, being bored or whatever. Eyebrows again look nice. The separation of the teeth and tongue and all that is also really sick too. Last but not least, we have this more bored expression here, which there's not much to write home about this. Pretty good clean paint in the mouth right here, but yeah, nothing too big with that. Okay, moving on to the actual hands. We do have these hands that are sculpted together, which it's really nice when we have hands like this. These are definitely in more of a matte type of paint. I can actually feel the paint on here. It's not too easy to see in my camera, but you can kind of tell, yeah, it's a little too glossy in the face plates compared to the hands there. But yeah, these look good. A little bit soft plastic, but by no means are these like movable or anything. And there's not much detailing in the palms here. Surprisingly, when you get to hands like these clenched hands, there's actually a little bit more detailing in like the creases of the palms. You also have the fingernails and then like the back with the knuckles there. Every one of these hands is done in a very similar fashion. So we're going to look at the relaxed hands. Again, these also look really nice in the way that they separated the fingers and everything. Pretty good. Peace sign hands. I believe Power came with peace sign hands as well. So you compare these two together for peace sign posing. And yeah, that looks really good there. And then we do have these hands here. These are for, actually, you see that circle in the hands. I'm actually going to go ahead and bring it out. These are for holding the axe. It slips through very easily. The detailing on the blade here looks really good with this lighter and then darker gray. Very nice silver right there. There's a glossy black plastic section that's pretty hard, so be careful not to snap that, but pops in and out very easily. It's not a loose grip at all, though. It's a very nice connection, so really digging that. Then we have this hand here. It's got a finger sticking out, and we have this separate ripcord accessory. The idea is, if you see this image right here, with this image, you have a port actually on, a very small port on the chest. So you would just plug in one end there. It's pretty easy to plug in actually, but it also can be pretty easy to pull out. So just be careful, and you know, it might take a little bit. You might get a little frustrated posing it like this, but it can be done. It looks pretty good. We also have, man, I'm having trouble focusing up here. We have this left hand here for actually grabbing the magazine here, and we all know what's going on here. But the detailing and like the texture on the front is really good. All that printing, the paint is really clean, and on this side too, with the wording and everything, like even the barcode, that's really cool, really good, and it slips in there without a problem, which is nice. I can confirm this here, this moving tie, this dynamic tie, is the exact same sculpt as last year's. I think that the new one is ever so slightly in a darker color plastic, but I mean, it had a pretty good detailing on it. It's just, you know, a tie, not much crazy about it. Pop off this tie. It's a little bit hard for me to do right now. Kind of, yeah, stick that in, and it can be pretty easy to pull that out when you don't want to, but it stays actually in there not too bad, and you get a little bit of a better look what that chest port looks like. All right, last thing to talk about here is actually Pochita. This thing is really cool. First of all, this thing can pop off no matter what. The paint and like the actual, like the way that the chainsaw piece here looks really sick. The silver looks nice. This more neutral face with the tongue sticking out, the fangs, that looks really clean. This slightly moves, but there really is no other articulation. Softer plastic tail here looking nice. The bottom here of that handle piece. This little paws, there's not much detailing under there, but just really nice orange plastic overall. You could pop this off like that, and then you can replace it with something more like this, where, you know, it's poor little thing. Pochita is very, very sad here. The way that the tears well up, and the pupils too, they look really good. Last but not least, close-eyed. I'm trying to put this in there. Close-eyed, smile right there. Closed mouth too. Pop that in. So that's pretty cool. I mean, this large seam line here is pretty distracting, but it's still cool that they gave us this function in different faces for this. Biggest question a lot of people had before this exact Denji came out is, what is the biggest difference between this and last year's Chainsaw Man? The answer is not much. Yeah, there's a lot of reuse. Of course, the neck and the heads are different just because of how the character design goes. I don't know if you can pop off the neck piece yet on this one. Either of them, actually. I haven't tried it yet. I tried to pull it on this one, but it's a little too stiff. You may want to heat that up if you do want to swap those, I guess. But I think these shoulder sections, I don't know, they just look different. Like, it looks like there's a much larger gap here compared to this one. Like, I just don't... Yeah, this thing is going to get in the way of a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to show, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks like the shapes... I don't know. Like, detailing looks the same, but something about it just looks way more Gap-Itch-like with the new one compared to the older one. Shoulder sections are about the same, but then we get to the elbow sections here, and first of all, the red is bleeding onto this, so just be careful of that. Maybe it's too late for some of you right by now, and sorry about that. But, like, I don't know, like these arms look... Well, of course, these actual forearms are different, not only because of the chainsaw section, but when we level here right at the shoulders, it's way, I mean, not by much, but it's definitely a little longer, and it's kind of distracting how much longer the new Denji's arms are. There really just doesn't seem like much new. Like, the chest is retooled because a lot of these details seem the exact same. There may be a little bit more shading in the old one, but then you get to, like, the chest, and there's just a hole right there, a very simple hole. So, Yeah, there's just not much different, and it really doesn't help the argument of, oh, they need to do different figures. Like, I was okay with the idea of a separate Denji figure, but, you know, as time has gone on, honestly, this thing just seems like it could have been a whole accessory set. Like, definitely, I've pulled these out without heating them up, and you really should, but heat up these arm sections, and they could pop out, so they could just swap them. You know, Bandai could definitely have engineered these to where everything was swappable. I say this, and there's quite literally a section on the instruction manual PDF that says you can swap the arms out, so I'm just stupid. Moving on to the actual Denji head sculpt here. Looks pretty good. And we have, I haven't popped off any of the actual faces yet, but we have the breakage right here at the seam for removing that. So you just pop that off, and then I am assuming that it's just a standard, yeah, it's just a standard, you know, peg in the faceplate there, and pop that back on. Yeah, so the hair does not have much detailing, I will say. It's just in this, like, you know, yellowish blonde color, whatever his hair color is. Just in this molded type of color. There's just no decent paint going on there. Really any paint. I mean, it looks good. Like, I think it's detailed nice. And then this angrier smile is a pretty nice expressive face. Tie is the exact same as the previous one. Everything still looks pretty good. In person, everything matches up. But on camera, it seems like the shoulders are too dark compared to, like, the chest. Not entirely sure. And again, there's just a lot of gappage. I don't really get it. I mean, even if you like try to move that up, then there's this weird joint gappage here too. It wasn't, I feel like it wasn't that bad somehow, unless I'm just lying to myself. Yeah, at first there's a little bit, but it didn't seem as bad in last year's, and it's just not good looking in this one. Then we get to like forearms. They look fine, you know, pretty nice mold overall, the way that is all sculpted. And this here is this type of like matte skin tone plastic. Let me grab a hand. I think I've already done this, but like, it's not super easy to tell, but I mean, it definitely looks way more glossy in the neck and in parts of the face compared to the matte finish on the hand there, as well as a matte finish on the forearm and the fists, which, speaking of the fists, you can see they're just standard fists. There's not much to write home about with these. Looking pretty decent though. We do have a dip here to basically compensate for articulation like that. So, I mean, it gets over 90 because of that. The elbow articulation is still not amazing. They probably should have redone this whole section to where it's a double joint. Just had different sculpting. We have this soft plastic stomach piece here, just like last year's, and then underneath they do have some hard plastic sculpting there. Actually, I think no, that is definitely soft plastic, excuse me. So, yeah, lots of soft plastic in the stomach. This is definitely a harder plastic. Neck, I forgot to mention, this looks a little bit gappy, but I mean, I think this is the exact same, and that space is filled out a lot more, but there's a lot more plastic there compared to this, so not that big of a deal. Pants are the exact same as last year's. Pretty nice wrinkle details. We do have some brown and silver for the belt, the pockets on the back, you know, some seam line, not seams, but I guess this is a seam line here. But then like wrinkles on the back, even a little bit on the joints. And then like the shoes were really cool last year too, and they just kind of left them on, and yeah, they still look really good. Nice red and white going all the way around. Black outline there. Yeah, so I mean, it still looks really good, and honestly, like, if you get this cheap, it's a spare body in case something happens to your Chainsaw Man figure. But yeah, there's just not much new compared to the previous one here. Pretty standard articulation here for SH Figuarts, which is pretty good articulation. We do have a dumbbell joint going up in here, and it's pretty gappy between the face and the back hair piece though. But it can go side to side and then up like this, down, swivel like that. And you can also grab the neck at one point and swivel it, but I'm having a little trouble doing that. We do have a little bit of a ball joint section going on in here, so it moves up. And that's as far down as it goes, but up, because these shoulder pads, they don't really want to go up that much either. You do get a swivel and a forward or back motion here actually too, but a swivel all the way around here, a little bit of swiveling up here, and then you do get separate swivel if you grab that sleeve, separate swivel at the skin tone of the elbow, single joint elbow bends over 90, swivel at the wrist as well as a hinge at the wrist. We actually have wrist articulation this time instead of these stationary hands, which it makes sense with this, but yeah, that's just something I wanted to mention. Ball joint here, so swivels like this, side to side, forward, back. Swivels here too. All this range of motion. So back, there's some gappage, but that is fine. The forward, for some reason, doesn't really want to go too much. And then there's this little copyright thing right there. Side to side and all that swiveling. Yeah, so stuff's a little too tight in some areas here. Soft plastics crotch piece, which will, you know, crease up a bit if you move it like this. But it could kick out like that, back pretty far because it's a soft plastic piece. Thigh split, a little bit detailing there. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee. And then we have a ball joint, an ankle rocker and ball joint here. So it can swivel. Actually goes down and up. I feel like better than the previous one, or I could be wrong. But swiveling here. Then we have a pivot. Lots of ball joints in here. But yeah, then you have a toe hinge like that. I'm having trouble finding Samurai Sword for now, so this is just the rest of the SH Figuarts Chainsaw Man line, and I have a Marvel Legend figure right there. Looking right here, it looks like we're getting like just under 15 centimeters, so that is actually going to put this at like 5 3/4 inches there. I think last year's Chainsaw Man is slightly taller just because of that headpiece, but in some ways I feel like the shoulders, the torso might be slightly taller than the newer one too. But Denji's going to be taller than Power and Makima, and then Marvel and Spider-Man's going to be taller than all of them. So the more that I keep messing around with this figure, the more that I am kind of leaning towards the opinion of, yeah, this probably should have been some type of accessory pack or just packed in with last year's Chainsaw Man, because I really don't see the need to be buying an entire separate figure here. That's like $65 plus dollars. I'm not exactly sure what the pricing is right now. But not a whole separate figure that is basically 80% reuse of last year's. Besides the fact that if like something broke on last year's, now you have a Denji figure, you can start maybe swapping parts if you know how. But I don't know. That's a lot of effort for me. The thing is that this just quality-wise doesn't feel as good as last year's. It's probably because of the different factories that they have making this. It's pretty much the exact same figure, but things just feel off about this thing. Mostly like a glossier skin tone in some areas, and then some parts just having a lot of gappage where I just feel like it wasn't that bad in last year's. An action figure is going to have gaps. I get that, but it's kind of just really bad in this one here. The amount of accessories here, though, are really nice. Different faceplates, different hands. It comes with a lot of stuff. The cool magazine, as well as the cool axe. You know, you do have the separate tie, which is nice. The ripcord effect, and then this, you know, poached out with different faces. That is really cool. So I don't think that this necessarily doesn't have a purpose. I just wish that they did this differently and it was just like a separate pack and it just wasn't a completely, you know, re-released figure that is pretty much the exact same as last year's. It's still pretty nice, but I would not rush to get it at its retail price. Maybe wait till there's a sale. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content from over there, and I'll see you guys later.